Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we jump into today's topic, we always like to start with the memory granules, the key takeaways you need to have front of mind.
First up, this isn't a book about how to, manipulate your kids into behaving. It's not a list of strategies. It's actually a guide to healing your own past so you don't accidentally inflict it on your future.
The second one, and this phrase really stuck with me, is felt with, not dealt with.
Hmm.
The goal isn't to fix a child's unhappiness or distract them. It's to validate their feelings and just keep them company inside that emotion.
And third, rupture and repair.
Hmm.
You are going to make mistakes. You will lose your temper. I mean, that's just inevitable. The real magic is in the repair. Apologizing, reconnecting.
Yeah.
That actually strengthens the bond way more than trying to be perfect ever could.
And here's your action item for tomorrow. The trigger check. The next time you feel that flash of rage over something minor, just stop and ask yourself,
Okay.
how old do I feel right now? Is this really about the spilled milk, or is this a ghost from my own childhood?
Exactly. Now let's get into it.
So today we are tackling a book with, I gotta say, maybe the most aggressive title on the shelf. It's called The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read, and Your Children Will Be Glad That You Did, by Philippa Perry. And I have to be honest, when I first saw that, I felt a little attacked.
It's definitely designed to be provocative, right?
Yeah.
It really grabs you. But what's interesting is that most people who pick it up are expecting a manual. They want the how-to.
Yeah, how to get them to eat broccoli, how to sleep train, how to stop a tantrum in aisle 3.
Right. And that is exactly what this book is not. Perry is a psychotherapist, not some, parenting guru. She argues that all those little tips and tricks, she calls them strategies, are often just ways to manipulate a child into being more convenient for us.
So she just shifts the focus completely. She says parenting isn't really about what you do.
Yeah.
It's about who you are.
And the relationship you build, yeah.
She has this great analogy right at the beginning. She says, if people were plants, the relationship is the soil. And if the soil is toxic or just lacking nutrients, it doesn't matter what fancy strategies you use, the plant's going to struggle. But if the soil is rich, the plant can thrive, even if the weather's bad.
That is the core proposition right there. The relationship is the soil. If it's healthy, the technical stuff, getting them dressed, fed, washed, it all just happens more naturally. If the relationship is strained, then everything becomes a battleground.
Oh, speaking of battlegrounds, she references this bit by the comedian Michael McIntyre. I love this part. He says parenting is just 4 things: getting them dressed, feeding them, washing them, and putting them to bed.
Sounds so simple when you list it like that.
But anyone listening knows that trying to put a coat on a toddler can feel like wrestling an alligator. It's an exhausted battleground. And Perry asks, why? Why is putting on a coat a war?
And her answer isn't that the child is just being stubborn. Her answer is the battle. It's often an echo from your own childhood.
And this is where we get into the first huge pillar of the book, the legacy. The idea that, as she puts it, the past comes back to bite us.
This is the scary part for a lot of people. Perry argues that we're basically destined to repeat how we were raised unless we consciously stop and examine it. So when you get irrationally angry at your child for something small, it's rarely about the child. It's about a ghost from your own past.
Okay, let's ground this because it sounds a little abstract. The case study in the book about a mom named Tay and her daughter Emily, I thought this really brought it to life.
Yes, the playground story. That's a perfect example. So Emily is 7 years old. She's on a climbing frame. She gets stuck, and she calls out, "Mom, help me down."
Okay, simple enough. The rational response is, you go help your kid down.
Exactly. But Tay, the mom, feels this sudden, overwhelming wave of fury. She just yells at her, "Get down this minute. Don't be ridiculous." She shames her.
Which seems totally nuts. The kid is just stuck.
Logically, yes. But emotionally, Tay wasn't really in the playground anymore. Later, when she unpacked this with Perry, she realized she wasn't actually angry at Emily at all. She was angry at her own grandmother, her Nana.
Because her Nana treated her like a porcelain doll.
Right. Tay was never allowed to take risks. She was always made to feel incompetent and weak. So when Emily asked for help, it triggered that old buried feeling in Tay of being helpless. And Tay hated that feeling, so she just attacked it in her daughter.
Wow. So she opened her mouth and her Nana's attitude just came right out.
That is legacy. And it happens to all of us. I mean, if you were raised in a house where anger wasn't allowed, you might totally freeze up when your toddler has a tantrum. You're not reacting to the toddler in front of you. You're reacting to the fear you felt when you were small.
So if you're listening and thinking, oh no, I totally do that, what's the fix? I mean, we can't change our childhoods. We can't go back and fix the soil we grew up in.
No, but we can, as Perry says, reshape the link. And the first step is just awareness. That's what the trigger check is all about.
Okay, walk us through that again.
So when you feel that flash of rage, let's use the spilled drink example, and you feel like screaming, just pause. Ask yourself, does this emotion actually match the accident? Or is this an old feeling? Just that moment of realization, oh, I'm reacting like a scared child right now, not a competent adult. It can break the spell.
It lets you separate the then from the now.
Precisely. You stop parenting your past and you start parenting the actual child in front of you.
Okay, so that's the legacy, all the baggage we bring with us. Now I want to move to the weather, the day-to-day storms of feelings. There's a phrase in this book that I think is the most catchy, useful mantra for any parent. Felt with, not dealt with.
It's a brilliant phrase, isn't it? Felt with, not dealt with.
Break that down for us, because I think my instinct, and probably most people's, is to deal with a crying kid. We just want to fix it.
It's a completely natural instinct. We see a child in distress, crying, screaming, being sad, and we want to stop the noise. We want to make them happy again. But Perry argues that we often try to distract them or shut it down because their pain makes us uncomfortable.
Oh, 100%. The classic move is the distraction. The toddler falls, scrapes their knee, starts to wail, and the parent immediately goes, "Oh, look, a squirrel! Look at the shiny car!"
And Perry is actually quite harsh on distraction. She calls it manipulative.
Manipulative. That feels a bit strong. I mean, it works, doesn't it? The kid stops crying.
It works to silence the child, yes. But let's think about it from the child's perspective for a second. You're in pain, or you're deeply sad. And the most important person in your world looks at you and says, look at that squirrel. They're essentially saying, your feelings are not valid. Look away from them. Don't feel that.
Wow, when you put it that way, it almost feels like gaslighting a kid.
It's a form of denial.
Yes.
Imagine this. You come home from work, you've had a terrible day, you tell your partner you're feeling awful, and they just say, hey, look at this YouTube video of a cat.
I'd be furious. I'd feel incredibly lonely.
Exactly. You'd feel unheard. And that is what we do to kids all the time. We try to jolly them along because we're afraid of the negative emotion. We think a good parent is supposed to have a happy child.
So what's the alternative then? If we're not distracting or fixing, what are we supposed to be doing?
We're offering containment.
Containment? That sounds a little clinical.
It's a term from psychotherapy, but it just means being a safe container for the child's big emotions. You validate the feeling without being overwhelmed by it yourself. You let them know, I see you are sad. That is okay. I am right here with you.
There was that story about the boy named Lucas, the orchid child, that really made this clear for me.
Yes, the orchid versus dandelion idea.
Yeah.
Dandelion kids are robust. They can grow anywhere. Orchid kids are much more sensitive to their environment. Lucas was an orchid, and he was always sad when his parents went to work.
And the dad kept trying to deal with it, right?
Yeah, the dad would say things like, don't be sad, we're going to the zoo this weekend, it'll be great. He was trying to sell happiness. But all Lucas heard was, I am not allowed to be sad. He felt totally alone in his feelings.
So what was the fix? What did he change?
The fix was the dad finally stopping the sales pitch. He just sat with him and said, it is really hard when we leave, isn't it? You miss us.
And just saying that helped.
It didn't make the sadness disappear.
Yeah.
And that is the key point. The goal isn't to make the child happy immediately. The goal is to make the child feel understood. Once Lucas felt with, the emotion became bearable for him.
That's a huge shift in thinking. We think our job is to keep them happy, but Perry is saying our job is actually to keep them company in their unhappiness.
That's a beautiful way to put it. You're keeping them company within the emotion.
Yeah.
She uses a great metaphor for this. The dashboard warning light.
Oh, I loved this one.
If a warning light flashes on your car's dashboard, say the low fuel light, you don't take out a hammer and smash the bulb to stop it flashing.
Which is basically what distraction is, smashing the bulb.
Exactly. You have to check the engine. You have to address the underlying need. Feelings are just information. If a child is angry or jealous or sad, that's a warning light. Don't cover it up with tape. Look at what it's telling you.
Okay, but I want to push back a little here. This feeling with stuff sounds great for sadness, but what about when the warning light is a kid screaming in the supermarket because they want candy or hitting the dog? We can't just stand there validating them while they destroy the house.
Absolutely not. And this is a really crucial distinction. Perry is not advocating for permissiveness at all. She talks about the difference between defining the child and defining yourself. This is the whole key to setting boundaries.
Okay, unpack that for me. Define yourself, not the child.
So let's take a classic scenario. A toddler grabs your car keys. The bad way to handle this, the way that creates shame, is to say, you are so naughty, give that back, you can't be trusted.
You're labeling the child, defining them.
You're defining them. You are the naughty one. The good way, according to Perry, is to define yourself. You say, I can't let you play with my keys.
I can't let you.
It's an I statement. I need my glasses to see, so I am taking them back now. You're setting a boundary based on your needs and on reality, not on the child's character.
And then I'm guessing you do the validation part.
Exactly. You physically take the keys back, you hold the boundary firm, but then you validate the fury. You say, I know, you were furious with me. You really wanted those keys.
It just sounds so much more respectful. It treats the child like an actual human being, not some project to be managed.
That is the heart of the book, respect. She points out how often we play what she calls fact tennis with children and how disrespectful it actually is.
Fact tennis. I laughed out loud at this because I am a semi-professional fact tennis player. This is the whole argument about leaving the park, right?
It is. The parent says, we have to go home. The child says, why? The parent says, because it's lunchtime. Child says, but I'm not hungry. Parent says, but it's 12 o'clock, you need to eat.
And back and forth you go, serve, return, serve, return.
You're just batting facts back and forth, but the child doesn't care about the time. And honestly, usually the parent wants to go home because the parent is hungry or tired.
So Perry's advice is, just admit it.
Just put down the racket, stop the game, and just say, I am tired and I want to go home now.
It's so much more honest.
And kids respond to authenticity. They know when you're making up reasons. We have to leave because the park is closing. They can see the park isn't closing. But when you say, I am cold and I want a cup of tea, that's real. They might not like it, but they can respect it.
Hearing all this, the legacy, feelings, boundaries, no more fact tennis, it sounds incredible, but it also sounds like a really high bar. I mean, constantly validating, checking my own childhood triggers, staying calm. I know I'm going to screw this up.
And this is the best news in the entire book,
Yeah.
Perry says. That is okay. In fact, screwing up is part of the process.
Tell me about rupture and repair.
This is the safety net for all of this. A rupture is when you lose your temper. You yell, you blame the child, you get distracted. It is going to happen. But Perry argues that the repair that comes after is actually more valuable for the relationship than if you had been perfect in the first place.
Wait, really? How is that possible? Wouldn't a perfect parent be better?
A perfect parent isn't real. And if you seem perfect, your child feels like they can never mess up. But if you rupture and then you repair, you teach them resilience. A child needs to see that relationships can withstand conflict and come back together.
So what does a good repair actually look like?
It's really simple. You just go to the child. It can be hours later, that's fine. And you say, I got that wrong earlier. I was angry about work and I took it out on you. I am sorry.
That teaches them how to be human.
It teaches them forgiveness. It teaches them that they are safe even when things go wrong. Perry says, it is not the rupture that is important, it is the repair that matters.
That is such a relief. It takes all the pressure off getting it right every single time and puts the focus on making it right when we fail.
And this applies to adult children too. She
Yeah.
talks about parents repairing ruptures with their children who are in their 20s or 30s. It's never too late to say, I didn't listen to you back then and I'm sorry for that.
I want to touch on one last tool she gives, which I think really helps with this self-reflection. The visualization of the 3 rooms.
Ah, yes. This is a great way to check in with yourself. Imagine your parenting life is a house. You have the reception room, that's your public face, where you look like you have it all together.
That's the Instagram room. Everything's clean. Everyone's smiling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But off that room, there are 2 others. The room of positivity and the room of difficulty. And we tend to lock the door to the room of difficulty. That's the room where we feel ashamed or angry or regretful or even bored by our kids.
And we feel so guilty for even having those thoughts. Like, I shouldn't find my own child annoying.
Right. But Perry says you have to go into that room. You have to admit it exists. I am bored. I'm annoyed right now. If you suppress it, it just leaks out. It comes out as passive aggression or a sudden snap of rage.
So acknowledging the dark stuff actually helps you stay calm.
Yes, if you can admit to yourself, I am finding this really hard right now. You release some of the pressure, you can take a breath. It's all about being authentic.
Real, not perfect.
There's a quote from the book that sums this up so beautifully. We owe it to the world to love more than we judge. And she's applying that to us judging ourselves, too.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot. The legacy of our past, the importance of feeling with, not dealing with, setting boundaries by defining ourselves, and the safety net of rupture and repair.
It's a pretty comprehensive shift in perspective.
If a listener wants to put this into practice right now, like the minimum viable action, it's the very first step.
I would say become a detective. Stop looking for the hack to stop the behavior and start looking for the feeling that's underneath it.
A detective of feelings.
Yes. If your kid is whining, don't just say, stop whining. Ask yourself, what are they feeling right now? And then crucially, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now?
The dual check on them and on you.
That is the key. If you can just pause long enough to answer those 2 questions, you stop reacting and you start reloading.
And if you fail, if you forget and just yell.
You repair. You haven't failed. You just haven't finished the interaction yet.
You haven't finished the interaction yet.
I love that. It means there's always a second chance.
Always.
This book, The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read, it really is less of a manual and more of a mirror, isn't it? It forces you to look at yourself. And while that's uncomfortable, it sounds like it's the only way to really change the dynamic.
It's the only way to ensure your children don't have to read a book like this about you in 20 years. That is the ultimate goal. Thank you so much for walking us through this. It's been, honestly, a bit like a therapy session, but in a really good way.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, here's a final thought to leave you with. The next time you are in the middle of a rupture, you're yelling, or you're shutting down, just pause. Don't beat yourself up. Just mark the moment. And remember that the most important part, the repair, is still available to you. Go make that repair.
That's the work.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.